Salutations, respected viewers. I am George from Ireland. Behind me you can see the blue plaque on the wall at Thomas Street, London. So this is where John Keats lived from 1815 to 1816. He's the celebrated poet. So he was born just north of London, where his father ran a stables. And he was lucky to go to school at all, because of course some people didn't, and he stayed at school till his late teens, which was highly unusual, because many people, if they went to school at all, left very early, like say age 8, age 10, something like that. But he was a very gifted child, and he studied to be an apothecary, what we'd now call a pharmacist, which was a profession in itself, but was often a way station towards becoming a doctor. In those days, doctors usually didn't go to university. The really elite ones often did an ordinary degree first of all in arts before then studying medicine. But most doctors went to hospital straight away about the age of 18, and the hospitals organised their own lectures as well as their own shadowing actual doctors, their own exams and blah blah blah. But often you'd pass exams with the Royal College of Physicians. But anyway, he was admitted an apothecary, but he was a polymath because he was very gifted in the humanities as well as the sciences. And when he was 18, he published a volume entitled Poems by John Keats, and he's best known perhaps for Endymion. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. It shall never pass away into nothingness. Its joy increases ever. And so it goes on. So this very lengthy poem about a sleeping shepherd, and his themes were often set on ancient Greece, because of course the bulk of education back then was classical, was reading Latin and ancient Greek. That's where he composed his Ode to a Grecian Urn, and I'm just trying to think what else he wrote. Ode to the West Winds by Shelley. He was very close friends with Shelley, and he lived a bit further north in London for a while, on the edge of Hampstead Heath. I filmed at that house as well. And he travelled to Italy shortly after his time here at Guy's Hospital. Guy's Hospital is just down the street. You can't see it from this angle. You see where that huge tower block is there? Near the base of that is where Guy's Hospital is. Incidentally, Guy's Hospital is not a hospital for men only and boys. It's because Mr. Thomas Guy, he founded it. He gave the money to this wealthy merchant in the early 18th century. I'm just trying. Oh yeah, Ode to a Nightingale and things like that. And he wanted a beaker of the warm south, as in that was the wine he liked. Overhead, look overhead amongst the flowers, brown and red, and all the rest of it. Oh, I wish I could quote him a little bit. Dry your eyes, oh dry your eyes, for I was taught in paradise that something beneath the good soil lies. It's often about nature and how spring is going to come again and things like that. So simple pastoral themes. So he's one of the romantic poets and believed in just running wild and celebrating sensuality, and he was not a very political poet. A lot of the others were overtly involved in radical politics, but not John Keats. So he went to Rome, and being almost impecunious, he lived in a damp garret. He caught tuberculosis and started coughing up blood, and he wondered whether he'd be remembered amongst the English poets after his death. And finally he died aged only 25. And yet he's achieved literary immortality. He's buried there at the Protestant cemetery in Rome, and upon his gravestone it says, "Here lies one whose name is writ on water," as in it wouldn't last kissing time. Well, he couldn't have been more wrong. And the house where he lived in Rome is still open to the public. He spent some time in Florence as well, Casa Guidi, if I'm not mistaken, which is owned by Eton. There's a Keats Shelley Society which exists to celebrate his artistic achievement. So his oeuvre is really magnificent, considering just how young he died. And he wrote some childish poems as well. So I followed my nose to the north, things like that. And he used meter, they almost always did in those days, as well as verse. What else? There's something else I forgot to say. Didn't write anything in prose actually, but many of his letters to his girlfriend Fanny exist, so we can have a very good idea of his inner life. That's all about the splendid John Keats.